Hello, my name is Jonathan Almoradie. I'm a father of three, a military veteran. I have an associate's degree in web development. I recently completed the full stack coding bootcamp with Savvy Coders, and I love cooking. When it comes to cooking, there are a lot of steps involved, steps that must be followed in order to have a delicious meal at the end. Once these steps are mastered, they become a sort of routine. With that routine established, cooking becomes second nature, and you're able to mix it up if you want. This sort of progression inspired me to build something that those with learning differences can utilize. My son, for instance, is autistic and requires routines to be set up and followed in order to get through the day. My passion for cooking and my love for my son helped to bring my capstone to life. With that being said, I've built an application that will help children with autism, ADHD, or other learning differences navigate through everyday routines and busy schedules. For children, it will help keep them on task, increase their independence, and build their self-confidence as they go about their day. It includes routines that can be set up for the morning, evening, or in the future, any other routine pain points. After a specific routine is followed, the user will be navigated to a reward page. The user will then be able to redeem a reward of their choice. The user can also check the day's weather forecast on the same page to help influence their decision. The app also includes a weekly or daily overview of any events going on, similar to most calendar apps, which in the future can be connected to a family Google Calendar. This way, instead of asking their parent what is going on for the day or what's next, they can just check the routine app. All these resources will ideally help the end user remember what to do daily, what to expect throughout the day, help them become more independent, and maybe even mix it up here or there. In future iterations, I like to set up a user login, which would allow for users to have their own clean slate. They would ideally be able to set up their own routines and rewards, as well as have functionality to utilize their reward points. In addition to the user functionality, I like to implement a mood feature where once a routine is completed, a modal will pop up with clickable faces from sad to happy. The user would then be able to click which face they're currently feeling, and their choice would influence which rewards would populate. For example, if a user selected a sad face, rewards relating to comfort, such as a warm blanket or going for a walk, would populate. Same would apply if a user selected a happy face. While learning agile methodologies and practicing agile ceremonies such as daily stand-ups, sprint plannings, reviews, and retros, I learned just how important it is to follow these practices when working on a project. It's easy to get overwhelmed with the amount of work that needs to be done, but utilizing Jira and participating in these ceremonies help keep me organized and true to myself with any blockers that I came across. Utilizing Agile helped me keep my scope a bit reined in. When I first started adding things to my backlog, there was just so much to do. After each sprint, I went over what was completed, what I couldn't complete or didn't have any time for. This allowed me to move items into my backlog for future enhancements and help keep me on track for completing on time. In these agile ceremonies, I mainly was one of the developers and scribes. So my role was to discuss blockers and achievements, take notes during the daily stand-up, and relay the team's individual and collective blockers to the instructor for remediation. Talking through blockers helped me a lot, especially when implementing the calendar and the task/step display, because I was able to get some one-on-one help. Moving on to the project planning, here's my mural story. Enter as a visitor. It was fairly overzealous, but the main functionality of the app is still there. So the user is still viewing weekly daily activities, populating the task chart, not the chore chart, redeeming points from done chores. It will be able to connect to an external calendar, but for now I'm seeding the data manually. They are able to allocate points for chores and redeem the points for rewards. They're able to see the calendar, the weekly view or daily view. They're able to see tasks, and they're able to see rewards, such as fun activities. The main demographic is for parents with kids who have autism or ADHD or other disabilities, or people who rely heavily on a schedule. But more specifically, it was mainly for my wife and my eldest son. The app provides an overview of the current week, provides end users with routines to follow, provides a sense of independence for children with autism, gives kids an overview of the day, what to expect. It allows them to follow daily routines. Hopefully in the future, they can play a game to follow the routine. They can also check weekly or daily schedules. And the overview of the app kind of lists out what I want the final product to look like. But so far I had to scrap the add new routine, edit tasks, add a timer, and the mood page. Although I had to scrap those aspects, they do provide me with a great starting point for my future iterations. Here is my user flow. This is also my first iteration. Uh, I wanted it to go where they can just navigate to the morning page, evening page, or they can add a new routine straight on the home page, and they could also see the calendar. These would all route to the mood page, where they would select their face, and then after selecting face, they would reroute to the reward page to redeem any rewards they want. And here is my initial wireframe right here. The layout is fairly similar, although getting some feedback from instructors, I decided to have the nav links accessible all throughout instead of stored within a hamburger bar until it was in the mobile view. So that way, when kids were actually using the app, they didn't have to look for this. They probably don't even know what this means yet, but they could find, the links that they need to go to and navigate to the right page. I kept the same layout for the homepage. So they have the Jumbotron, they have the two buttons here and the calendar. The routine page is fairly similar to, it has the steps listed out here. The mood page I had to scrap, and the reward page looks fairly similar to the routine page. From a color palette, I went with more of a dark theme to be a little easier on the eyes. Initially, I had a teal color here as my accents, but in order to kind of coincide with my logo, I decided to change it to earth yellow. As you can see, I have a yellow right here for the kangaroo. And then here is my SWOT analysis. So some of the strengths of my app is that it's the ease of use. It has a simple layout, and you can easily add tasks to routines. Some weaknesses is that maybe it is too simplistic, although it is meant for kids. There's no mobile app yet, and it's a little bit repetitive. Some opportunities could be it could expand to chores instead of just routines. I could possibly gamify the process, such as if they completed a routine before the timer ends, they can get some bonus points, or if they completed a routine every day for the week, they would get like a collectible badge. And also I'd like to build out some profiles for adults and children where the adults would be the admins. They could set up everything on their end, and their kid would just have to go through and do their routines. Some threats are there are direct competitors. It is an easily replicable idea, and it's easily monetized. And onto my MVP. Here is the home page. The user is greeted with the Jumbotron greeting. You have the two start buttons here, morning and evening. And we have the calendar down here. Currently, the calendar can only add events, although the calendar is meant for users just to kind of reference what's going on throughout the day. So like full CRUD functionality didn't really make a whole lot of sense. But just to showcase some adding new events, I could just do this real quick. And it populates right there. And like I said earlier, these two buttons route to the specific routine that it's associated with. So let's go to the morning routine here. Boom. So on the morning routine, we have a list of all the steps here. The user can actually click on these steps or on these tasks to list out the steps needed to complete each task. Implementing this was actually kind of a hassle because initially I decided to try a query select all and then add an event listener to each list item when it was mapped out from the database. However, doing that resulted in all of these steps listing out regardless of which task was clicked. So if I clicked that, all the steps would come out. Or I tried a different method where it would only list out the first task steps. But to remedy that, I actually went with this little loop here. So I did end up doing a query selector all for any class I had a routine task, which is just the tasks here. So that would put them all into an array, and then I would loop through the array, add an on-click function to each. And then if it's a parent node, I would select all the children, loop through all the children, and set the display from defaulted to none to block when it's clicked, and then back to none when clicked again. Also, actually listing out the routines and the tasks themselves was kind of a challenge because I realized that I needed the steps to be within an array itself. So to remedy that, I actually have my steps field here that it only accepts an array of strings. So that way I was able to map through that array and then put them all in their own element. And users are also able to add a new routine. So they can just click on the plus button there. Let's go with take a shower. Actually not, let's do tie your shoes. And then the steps here, they need to be separated by commas. And then you can just add a little 15 or something points here. And when I submit, it reroutes back to the morning page. And then it displays at the bottom of the list. And then if I click on the task itself, you can see the steps that I added when adding the task. And in order to do this, I actually have see if I could find it. Okay, so yeah, right here. So the steps, I would have them input the steps with a comma separating them. So I just did a input steps dot value dot split, which would split all the steps by that comma and then put them all into an array. And then that way it would send to the database correctly and it would display correctly on the page. And once these steps are completed, they can just check off whatever they have done. Let's just do all of them. And when we submit, it'll route us to the reward page. Now we're at the reward page. The functionality here is the same as a routine page with the exception of submitting. It just lists out the rewards available for redemption. The user's also able to see the current weather forecast right down here. Currently, its default is my location. However, in the future, the user will be able to search their area via zip code or city state. To add a reward, it's the same as adding a routine. So get a new toy, go 50 points. And then it's right down here. Okay, and then in my about page, it has some language here describing what the app is all about. And a form here that's connected to FormSpree. So if a user would visit my site, they can just add their email here and a suggestion message. And when they click send, it would send to my email. Virtually, I wasn't able to complete everything that I had envisioned for my capstone. However, it still is a work in progress. I'm proud of what I've got done, and I'm happy that it's a thing that my son can use right now to help him get through his day. And I plan on enhancing my app as much as possible in order to deliver a product that my son would look forward to using. Thank you very much.